In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up macOS X with the programming tools you need for the pureprogrammer.org website. First thing you want to do on macOS is make sure that your application folder has a copy down here in the toolbar, taskbar, and you click on that with the right button and change that to list. I like to have that in a list view versus the fan view. And same for downloads, make sure that's in list view. And then what you're going to do is download a font that we're going to use later for our programming editor and for our console. And if you go into your Google search and you type in JetBrains Mono, you'll find the link here for the JetBrains Mono website. It's a programmer's web typeface. Hit the big blue button, download. And then once it downloads, you can open up your downloads folder, and it automatically extracted the zip archive into a folder. And you look for the TrueType font, the TTF font, and you select all of it by hitting click and then shift click to select all of these, and then right click open, and that'll open it in the fonts program, and you can see it opened all the different weights here, and you go ahead and do install font. And then you'll see that for this user, me, it's installed the JetBrains Mono font. And then you can go ahead and quit the font program in our browser. Now we're going to set up the terminal program. Go to Applications, under Utilities, and there's a program called Terminal, and that'll launch the terminal program. You'll see it's down here in the Active Applications area. Just grab that icon and drag it over somewhere else in the taskbar to make it permanent so that we can get to it easily. And then what we want to do is we want to go to the terminal preferences, and we want to set it up. I like the homebrew configuration of green text on black background. So you set what configuration you want it to come up with when it starts. And then go to Profiles. And again, hit Homebrew and hit Default down here. And that'll make sure that all new windows that come up will come up in the Homebrew configuration. And then we want to change the font over here to the font that we just installed, which was JetBrains Mono. There it is. And I'll make that a little bit bigger so that you can see it more clearly. So I'll set it to 18. And then we want to go to the window setting and change our default window size to 132 by 40 rows. And then we can go ahead and close that down. And then go ahead and quit the terminal program and launch it again. And we should see it come up with the preferences that we set, the Homebrew, green text on black background, JetBrains Mono font, and also the 132 columns by 40 rows. So now we're going to see which tools are already installed on macOS X and which tools we need to install. We'll start with C++. So if you type in actually G++ for the new compiler tool chain, -- version, it actually comes back that the tool's not installed, but it'll go ahead and download and install that for us. So we'll say, okay, install that for us. And we see after a few minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, the install is complete. And now we can type on the command line G++ -- version. And we see it comes back with Apple's version of the Clang C++ compiler version 11. So C++ is set to go. Okay, now we're going to see if Java is installed by typing javac --version. And it tells us that Java is not installed. We need to install a JDK, the Java Development Kit. And we click on More Info. That'll take us to Oracle's website where we can find the Java downloads. And sure enough, we see the Oracle JDK download right here on the main screen. We click on that, and we look at Oracle's license agreement, and we find the installer we want, which is the macOS X installer, the DMG, or the disk image version. We'll click on that. Click I've reviewed the technology license, and then click Download. And that'll start the download for the Java JDK. Okay, we saw our dock icon bounce that tells us that the download is ready to go. And sure enough, there's the JDK 13 DMG. We double click that, and that will open the disk image as a disk icon on our desktop once it verifies it. And we'll open the disk image, the JDK disk image, and we get an installer. We double click the installer, and we answer the questions, type in our password, and the installer runs. And that installed the JDK and a JRE, a Java Runtime Environment, to run Java applications as well as to compile Java applications with the JDK. And we can move it to the trash. Now we can go back to our terminal window, type in javac --version, and we see that we've got javac 13.02. We can type in Java, which is a Java JVM, and we see we got the 13.02 Java runtime environment. So now Java is set to go. The next development tool we'll check on is the node.js JavaScript interpreter. Just type in node-version, and we see that the node.js software is not installed. So we're going to bring up our browser, and we're going to Google for node.js. And we see the top site is the Chrome V8 JavaScript engine, node.js, at nodejs.org. And we're going to download the macOS version of the stable long-term support version. And we see our downloads icon bounce so that we know it's downloaded. We see a package installer. We'll just double click that package installer. And we got a problem. The problem is macOS X is stopping the install because it doesn't recognize the signer of that package. It doesn't recognize who the author of that software is. So come over here to your system preferences and go to security and privacy and go to general. You'll see right here it says node v1261 package was blocked because it's not from an identified developer. We're going to head and click on the lock icon down here, type in our password, and we're going to say open anyway. We're going to go ahead and run that anyway. And then we see that the installer does run. Agree to all the license terms and hit install. Type in our password one more time. And it says it's installed. So we can move the package installer to the trash and clear out our windows. And on the command line, we can type in node-version. And we see that version 12.16.1 is installed. So now we're all set with JavaScript development with Node.js. Now we'll check to see if the Perl interpreter is installed. We'll type in Perl version, and we see that Perl 5.18 is installed, which is great. So we don't have to do anything for Perl. Then we can check for Python, and we can type Python version, and we see that when we type Python, we get Python 2.7. What we really want is Python 3. Now, a lot of times that's installed as Python 3 so that you can do Python 2 and Python 3 development. And when we type Python 3, we get Python 3.7, which is great. You'll just have to remember on the pureprogrammer.org website, when it tells you to type in Python, that you have to type in Python 3 instead to get the 3 version interpreter. If you really want the latest Python interpreter, what you need to do is go out to www.python.org and hit the download link here, Python 3.8.2, and you'll see that this is the web page for the downloads. Down here we see that there is macOS 64-bit installer right here, and we'll go ahead and click on that. And our dock icon bounced, so we know that it's ready. And we see that we have a Python 3.8.2 package installer that we're going to click on and run. We're going to go ahead and run that. And we're going to put it on our hard drive. We type in our password. And in less than a minute, it looks like it's installed. So now we can come over here and we can type Python 3.8 version, and we'll see that Python 3.8 is installed. So now, instead of typing Python, you have to type Python 3.8 to get the Python 3.8 compiler. And the last thing we want to check on is our Swift compiler, and we do that by typing swiftc --version. And Apple Swift 5.1.3 is installed. That actually got installed when we did the Xcode tools when we installed the G++ compiler. So Swift is ready to go as well. The last topic I want to touch on is the topic of text editors. There's a number of different choices you've got on the Mac. One of them, if you go to bare bones software, bare bones software has a text editor, a programming editor that is probably one of the best ones on the Mac, called BBEdit. It is a commercial product, so you have to pay for it, but it's well worth the money if you're going to do a lot of programming. There are some free options available. Perhaps one of the best is gedit, a GNOME edit text editor. You have to install the Homebrew system, which installs Unix ports of software. And if you go to Homebrew website, they tell you exactly how to install Homebrew. Take that line and they paste that into your terminal. And that's going to install the Homebrew system. And again, this is for downloading and installing Unix software that's not already on your Mac. And after quite a long time of downloading dependencies and installing dependencies, it looks like it's complete. And we can type gedit on the command line to run gedit. And up will come gedit. And you can see there's quite a few languages that supports As far as syntax highlighting goes, once you save a file with a proper extension that it recognizes, it'll highlight the syntax for you. And then you can see the menus up here with different spell checking and things like that. And you can go into preferences, and you can go into fonts and colors, and we can change it so that we use the JetBrains mono font that we installed earlier. We want the mono regular, and you can make the font bigger if you like. And there you go. And that's it. That's the gedit editor that you can use when writing programs from the pureprogrammer.org website. I hope this helps you get set up on your macOS X, and please visit us at pureprogrammer.org.